Hey everyone, welcome to Love and Logic, the channel where we try to make sense of this crazy little thing we call dating. Today we're shining a light on a question I know a lot of you struggle with: how to tell if a guy is actually looking for a relationship or if he's just not that into you. We've all been there. You meet someone, the sparks fly, you start picturing a future together, and then the doubts creep in. We're going to unpack those red flags today, and I'll even share some personal stories that I think you guys might relate to. So, first up, let's talk about inconsistency. A guy who's genuinely interested will be consistent in his efforts. He won't go from showering you with attention to leaving you unread for days. When I was younger, I remember dating this guy. Let's call him Mr. Hot and Cold. At the beginning, it was all romantic dates, thoughtful gifts, the whole shebang. But then, slowly, things started to change. He'd disappear for days, make excuses for not seeing me, and those romantic gestures vanished. It was like he was only putting in effort when it was convenient for him, not because he truly valued spending time with me. Don't settle for someone who only gives you breadcrumbs of affection. You deserve the whole loaf. Okay, next up is a big one that most guys hate: the dreaded define the relationship talk. A guy who's serious about you will, eventually, want to have that conversation. He might be nervous, he might stumble over his words, but he won't completely shut down or avoid the topic altogether. If every time you try to bring up the future or where you stand, he deflects, changes the subject, or hits you with the "let's just see what happens" line, that's a sign he might not be on the same page. I once dated this guy who was a master at avoiding these conversations. Every time I tried to have an honest conversation about our future, he'd say things like, "Why label it?" or "Let's just enjoy the moment." We were enjoying the moment, but those moments were starting to feel empty because I wanted something more. If he can't even have a conversation about your feelings, how can you expect him to be there for you emotionally in the long run? This next red flag is a bit more subtle, but equally important. Pay attention to how he talks about the future. Does he include you in his plans? Does he consider your dreams and aspirations when talking about his own? A guy who's serious about building a future with you will see you as a part of that future. Thinking back to another guy I dated, let's call him Mr. My Future Only, who had big dreams. He talked about traveling the world, starting his own business, the whole 9 yards. And while I admired his ambition, I couldn't shake the feeling that I wasn't a part of that picture. It was like he had this whole future planned out, and I was just a temporary character in his story, not someone he saw himself sharing that journey with. You deserve to be with someone who not only dreams big, but dreams big with you by their side. Meeting the friends and family. If you're MIA in his life, it's time to move on. Now, I understand that not everyone is comfortable introducing their significant other to their friends and family right away, and that's okay. But if you've been dating for a while and he's making zero effort to introduce you to the important people in his life, or he's constantly making excuses for why you can't meet them, that's a red flag. I remember dating this guy who kept his life incredibly separate from mine. I met a handful of his friends in passing, but he never made the effort to properly introduce us or invite me to hang out with them. And his family? Forget about it. It made me feel like he wasn't really invested in me, like I was just a side note in his story, not someone he saw as a genuine partner. A guy who's serious about you will be proud to have you by his side and will want to share his life with you, including the people who matter most to him. Busy is a 4-letter word. He should make time for you, not excuses. We all have busy lives, right? Work, school, friends, family, that never-ending to-do list. But here's the thing. If a guy is truly interested in you, he will make time for you. Another guy I dated would tell me how busy he is with work and other obligations. And I believed him at first. He was ambitious, driven, always on the go. But after weeks of canceled dates, rescheduled plans, and last-minute rain checks, I started to realize that his busyness was a convenient excuse for not making me a priority in his life. You deserve someone who not only makes time for you, but cherishes the time you spend together. It's the small things: a quick phone call after a long day, a coffee date squeezed into his lunch break, even just a thoughtful text message to let you know he's thinking about you. Don't settle for a spark without the fire. Physical intimacy is important in a relationship, but it shouldn't be the only type of intimacy you share. A guy who's truly invested in you will crave emotional connection as much as physical touch. Another guy I dated was more into the physical aspect than building an emotional bond. And don't get me wrong, the chemistry was definitely there. But outside the bedroom, there was a wall. He rarely opened up about his feelings, deflected personal questions, and seemed content with keeping our conversations surface level. It was like we were acting out a scene from a movie, not building a real, meaningful connection. You deserve more than just a physical relationship. You deserve someone who wants to know your soul, not just your body. If he says he's not looking for anything serious, believe him, your time is precious. When a guy says to you he's not looking for anything serious, he means it. Don't try to change his mind. Don't convince yourself that you can be the exception to his rule. I know it's tempting to think, oh, he'll change his mind once he gets to know me. But the truth is, if a guy is truly not ready or not looking for a relationship, the kindest thing you can do for both of you is to respect his decision and move on. I remember when I was younger, I had this habit of falling for the emotionally unavailable type. And every time a guy would tell me he wasn't looking for anything serious, I'd hear, challenge accepted. I'd convince myself that my amazing personality, my witty banter, my undeniable charm would be enough to make him change his mind. Spoiler alert, it never did. Because you can't force someone to be ready for something they're not ready for. If he says he's not looking for a relationship, take him at his word. Your time and energy are precious, so don't waste them on someone who's not on the same page as you.
Know you've been a good friend.
With all done and said, know your worth. So, there you have it. 7 red flags that might mean he's not looking for a relationship. Remember, these are just guidelines and every relationship is unique. The most important thing is to trust your gut, pay attention to his actions, and don't be afraid to have those honest, sometimes uncomfortable conversations. You deserve to be with someone who's on the same page as you, who values you, and who's genuinely excited to build a future together. Don't settle for anything less. Now, I want to hear from you. Have you ever experienced any of these red flags? What advice would you give to someone who's trying to figure out if a guy is truly into them? Share your stories and wisdom in the comments below. And as always, don't forget to like this video if you found it helpful, subscribe to Love and Logic for more dating advice, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next video.